What's up, buds? I got a new bike. So if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that Blake and I both rode 2020 Specialized Enduros. Blake cracked his first one, he got a new bike. I cracked mine, unfortunately, don't have a replacement till the end of October. So this is what I bought. I bought the frame, switched all my components and everything from my Enduro onto this 2020 Stumpjumper Evo. So what's different about this bike versus the Enduro? Well, this one is the S3 size. The Evo comes in two sizes. This has a 475 mil reach, where my S3 Enduro had a 464 millimeter reach. So this is longer. It is also slacker. This is like a 63.5 head tube angle, and the Enduro is a 64 or 64.5. So it is longer, lower, and slacker than my Enduro, and it feels like that, but it feels like that in a really, really good way. It's 160, 140. It is originally spec'd at 150, 140. I bumped up the fork a little bit. It feels freaking awesome. I thought the Enduro was by far the best bike I've ever ridden, and it still probably is when it comes to just straight up chunk and craziness, but I think the Enduro was limiting my progression of my riding, because it lets me not choose lines and not take great lines, and that's what it's good for. You can go really fast, and if you mess up a little bit, you're fine. With this, you don't have as much room for forgiveness. The 140 in the back never felt like there wasn't enough. We did a downhill race at Snowshoe a couple weekends ago. Me and Blake both podiumed. I beat Blake by 6 seconds and took first in the sport class. And the only thing I didn't like about this bike, which that was the first time I've actually ridden this bike, was at that race, was right off the bat, it was not as progressive as the Enduro. So off drops and stuff, I would just blow straight through the travel in the rear and just bottom out pretty hard. So that was one thing right off the bat I didn't like about this bike. It was not progressive at all. There is a company, Cascade Components, that designs a rear linkage that increases your travel and progression. But I just went for a MRP progressive coil, and so far that has been perfect. It made the bike feel better. It just kind of brought the bike to life, actually. So now it pedals well, it jumps, it drops, it handles chunk. It's still crazy sensitive off the top, but now I've got a little bit of that bottom out support, which I really like. Descending, like I said, the Enduro just gives you more room for forgiveness, where you can take a bad line and you won't get bucked or bounced weird, it'll just take it. This is still the case with this bike, but it's not as big of an area of like you can mess up. So I'm finding I have to choose lines a little bit better. I can still go crazy, but when I go rowdy and pick bad lines, I have to take more of that hit. So I have to be very active through the knees, but I think that's going to help me in the long term with my riding, which I'm excited to see. As far as the coil, if you've never ridden a coil, you need to try one, because they are freaking awesome. This bike feels like it is glued to the ground in the rear end, and it does not break traction. Chunky, fast stuff, it just feels like this is the first time I've had a coil, and it is amazing. I will probably always ride a coil from now on, just because I love that planted, stuck to the ground feel on chunky stuff, but I can still pop and play off stuff pretty much all I want. Honestly, the Enduro looks good, and this looks just as good. Like, this is a good looking bike, which is obviously a big part in buying a mountain bike. You don't want a bike that looks bad. You're spending a lot of money on something. You don't want it to look bad. So this also looks awesome. It's that raw carbon look. It's got some like mint coloring, the Specialized logo, and then whatever that is down there. And it's just, people said I would be disappointed coming from an Enduro to a Stumpy, but honestly, I was welcomed to the change. It's like, I've had this Enduro all year. It's awesome. I loved it, but it is nice to have a shorter travel bike because it makes every trail you ride just a little bit different. Been riding the same trails here at Horns all year, and now you get on a short travel bike and it changes it a little bit, which I've really liked. And I think the more I ride it, I think I'm going to find little changes in my riding, and I think by the time I move back to a longer travel Enduro bike, if I ever do, I think riding this bike was going to be very beneficial for my riding in the long term. So I am super happy with it. I would recommend this bike and the Enduro to anyone. Just if you're going fast and riding hard, this bike you're going to have to do a little more work absorbing stuff, and an Enduro you can kind of just not care as much. So based on your type of riding, that's how I would kind of point you in what direction on which bike to go with. But both are great bikes, and I'm extremely happy with it. Alright buds, thanks for watching. I will have all the gear and parts and components on this bike linked down in the description below. We'll have Jensen.com links or Worldwide Cyclery links down there, whichever one you prefer to shop through. We have affiliate links for both, so you shopping there helps us out a lot, and we appreciate it. If you're new and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up. It all helps. Hopefully we're going to start making some regular content. We've got some new tires that Michelin sent us on the back right now. Review coming next week. And then maybe some Canuga action here soon. And some Snowshoe West Virginia Series Enduro race content coming. So we got a busy few weeks coming up, and we're excited to start riding and shredding again. So we'll see you next week, guys. Thanks for watching.